Boxing Truth here. I want to talk a little bit about this situation. Perhaps it has been talked about before. I haven't really seen it, but if it has, here's my version. But to me, it seems that Canelo Alvarez is getting a pass for ducking Triple G by a lot of media and some fans. Now, Canelo has been criticized, but I don't think he's been criticized as heavily as another middleweight belt holder, and that's Billy Joel Saunders. Now, in Billy Joel Saunders' case, he had an opportunity to fight Triple G, and according to him, he was offered $1.5 million. That's according to him. That was the offer he received. He didn't receive it as life-changing money for him, so he decided to go into another direction, even though the offer he got was about 3 or 4 times as much as he ever made in his career. It was by far his biggest payday that he got received. And because of opting not to take the unification bout with Triple G right away and choosing a path of least resistance by cherry-picking someone in the top 15 of WBO rankings, fighting a C-level fighter in Max Bursock, Billy Joel Saunders being shitted on by a lot of media fans, being called a coward, being called a hoe, pretty much just saying, give up your belt. You ain't shit. But to me, here's the difference of the two situations. Billy Joel Saunders is not obligated to fight Triple G. Canelo Alvarez is. Billy Joel Saunders is not mandated to fight Triple G. He doesn't have to fight him right this second, right next, after just winning the title. So he decided to get a defense in while he molds his options for what he wants to do next. He has options on the table. He could either take the $1.5 million offer to fight Triple G in a unification, if that is the true offer, or he can make the same type of money, maybe even more perhaps, to fight Chris Eubank Jr. in a rematch in a much more winnable fight, and what some UK commentators who have commented on my page say is the biggest money fight out there for Billy Joel Saunders on UK soil. So he's mulling his options. Should he fight Triple G, who is the best in the division, or should he go after a winnable money fight in a grudge match with Chris Eubank Jr.? Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, he's been criticized, but not as heavily as compared to Billy Joel Saunders. I'm not hearing people call him a coward. Well, not as heavily as Saunders. I'm not hearing people criticizing Canelo as heavily as compared to Billy Joel Saunders. And the thing is, Canelo is obligated to fight Triple G. That is his mandatory challenger. And he's decided to go to a path of even more least resistance. The guy's fighting a welterweight in a bullshit middleweight title fight at 155 pounds, featuring Canelo and Khan, a blown-up welterweight, fighting for a middleweight title. So Canelo is getting a pass by some media and some fans, even though he has yet to beat or fight a legitimate middleweight. He was able to get the WBC to bypass his mandatory defense. He was able to get the WBC to bend over for him and to sanction a fight, a middleweight title fight, with an unranked opponent in Amir Khan at middleweight at the WBC rankings. So WBC is already violating the rules. They do it all the time. I know that, but they're really bending over to make this fight happen in order to accommodate Canelo Alvarez. Now, in their rule books, it says they'll make exceptions for a champion to defend his belt against an elite challenger. But Amir Khan ain't no elite challenger, man. He's a welterweight. who hasn't done shit in years. I mean, the Khan fanboys attacked me in one of my latest videos about Khan. I don't give a shit. Y'all can keep attacking, but your boy is a hype job. Overrated like a motherfucker. But enough about Khan. Take it easy on him for a while. You know, I'll probably begin again sooner or later. This video is about Canelo, and that he's getting somewhat of a pass to duck Triple G, even though he's obligated to fight him next, and is not being as heavily criticized because he's participating in a higher profile fight. It's on pay-per-view against its two named fighters, and Billy Joel Saunders. He's fighting someone his own size, but he's fighting a C-level guy with no name recognition. So he's getting more heat from fans and media. But I don't know, to me, Canelo is the one that's, he's the one that's ducking. I mean, the guy is avoiding his mandatory challenger. I mean, Billy Joe, he just won his belt, as did Canelo, but Billy Joe is not obligated to fight Triple G. He's not mandated to fight Triple G. So he could have just simply said, we're going to go to another direction. He called him out, yes, for the summer, but I don't know, Saunders, to me, is showing more interest in fighting Golovkin than Canelo. I mean, Canelo won't even mention the dude's name. He won't even let go of this 155 catchweight stipulation. I mean, the guy doesn't even want to move to 160 pounds. Won't even fight a legitimate middleweight. For his first defense of his WBC title, he's continuing his constant streak of hunting welterweights. I mean, the guy's been a welterweight hunter for a majority of his fights. He's been fighting blown-up welters in a lot of his fights. He has yet to fight a legitimate middleweight. Now that could change for this next fight, because as most people think, he will not fight Triple G next. Now, there are options on the table for Canelo, big money fights, like a Pacquiao fight if he gets past Bradley. Now, Oscar De La Hoya, he had his promoter hat on when he was asked about that question. He said that, right now, the Canelo-Pacquiao train has left the station, but he's not completely ruling that fight out. He just doesn't want to reveal too much for what's next in store for Canelo. So he's mulling his options. He's thinking about, what's the best interest of Canelo? Should we pursue a Pacquiao fight, which was the biggest money fight out there for Canelo, or do they want to campaign at middleweight and fight their first legitimate middleweight in their next fight if everything goes well with Amir Khan? So another option on the table for Canelo, if he's serious about fighting Triple G, he could fight the winner of the David Lemieux-Glenn Tapia fight, which is the co-feature slot on the undercard of Canelo. Now, I believe Lemieux is most likely going to win that fight, and I could see that being the first legitimate middleweight fight for Canelo if he's serious about fighting Triple G, if he's serious about being a middleweight. And that's a good fight for Canelo, but that fight would have to be at 160 because Lemieux will have to cut his leg off to make 155. I mean, the guy can barely make 160 on the dot. So that fight would have to be at the full middleweight limit if that fight was to be made. But I just wanted to point that out, that I feel, media and some fans are giving Canelo a pass just because he's in a more high-profile fight than Billy Joe Saunders. But the reality is he's fighting a welterweight who's unranked, and Billy Joe Saunders is fighting a C-level guy who is ranked by WBO in the middleweight division, and he is showing more interest in pursuing a fight with Triple G than Canelo Alvarez. But y'all let me know what y'all think. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.